Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and on this episode we're doing a top 10. Topic of this top 10, top 10 tag teams of 2022. Say that 3 times fast, I bet you can't. And we're continuing on our best of 22 series in our top 10s. This time we're going to focus on the tag teams. Again, I am going to acknowledge there is still roughly a month and a half left in the year, so there could be some change, but I don't see it affecting this list that much. I will say next week's top 10 we're going to take a little bit of a break from the top 10s or the format of the best of 2022s, and there's going to be a special one based on Thanksgiving coming next week, so stay tuned for that. Just a little bit of a teaser. With all that being said, let's jump right into it. Number 10, Aussie Open. Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher. If you haven't been watching, Aussie Open has taken strides to where they were the best underground, not talked about team in the world to being one of the best tag teams in the world now. They won the inaugural Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships. They've shown out in Impact, in AEW, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. They've been all over the world, and they've been proving why they're one of the better tag teams there are out there right now. I do think that the sky is the limit. They're still not as great as they're going to be, which is surprising because they're surprisingly great. As you can see, they're one of the top tag teams in all the world, in my opinion. I think they're only going to get better, and if you ask me right now, the 2023 list, they'll probably break the top 5, if not, maybe even be the top 1 on the list. I could see that definitely happening for them. They're a fantastic tag team, which is why they make our list. Now, coming from that, our number 9, they're stablemates in the United Empire, Great-O-Khan and Jeff Cobb. Everything I just said about Aussie Open, you could transfix to Cobb and O'Khan. The difference between the two is Cobb and O'Khan have won the IWGP Tag Championships twice in this year, or carried them twice during this year. And I feel like they're in a better standing within the company, within New Japan, than Aussie Open is. O'Khan and Cobb show up in AEW. We've seen them challenge for championships all across the world. Again, much like I said with Aussie Open. Another fantastic team. The only thing I kind of hesitate about this team is I don't think they're meant to be a team long run. I could easily see Cobb and O'Khan both breaking off and going for solo titles. They feel more like 2 solo wrestlers that were put together than they do a great team. And not saying that they don't make a great team, I just feel like that's going to be their eventual downfall, is they're going to split up. Now going from them, our number 8. A team that made this list with a late push, the Motor City Machine Guns. Yep, in 2022, the Motor City Machine Guns are back on the radar and back on being one of the top 10 tag teams in the world. Like I said, they're coming on in the last few months has really put them back to where you really remember how great they were and how great they still are. If they would have given us a full year of the output that they've just given these last couple months, they'd probably be even higher on this list. What can I say about Alex Shelley? What can I say about Chris Sabin that hasn't been said a million times? They revolutionized, for good, bad, or indifferent, they revolutionized tag team wrestling and made the change in what we see today, and what we see as modern tag team wrestling can be directly taken back to the Motor City Machine Guns. And they're still one of the teams that does it better than most of the teams out there. Usually that's the case. The innovators usually better than everybody that follows them. They're a fantastic team. I'm glad they're back on our radar. I'm glad they're back on our TVs. And I'm excited to see what they do in 2023. Now going from them, our number 7, the Good Brothers. Now a lot of people they're a very polarizing tag team. A lot of people love them. A lot of people hate them. You can't deny their impact. No pun intended. They wrestled this year mostly for Impact. They've shown up in AEW. Carl Anderson, at the time of this recording, is still the Never Openweight Championship in New Japan, while still being employed by WWE. So within this year, they've been on Impact, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AEW, and WWE. If they're not a great tag team, how did they pull that off? They're in demand. They have fans. They can put on great matches with almost anybody, whether it be a brawling tag team, a big team like O'Khan and Cobb, whether they go up against a team like the Machine Guns or the Young Bucks. They're fantastic in any setting, and they kind of don't get the credit they deserve. And I like them. I'm a fan of theirs. But there's a lot of people that don't like him, and I can understand why. Some people don't like their antics, some people don't like who they portray to be on TV, but I think that's all part of the gimmick. I think that's what makes him great, in my opinion. And for them doing everything they've done this year, they got to make this list, in my opinion. Now, coming from the Good Brothers, our number 6, Toxic Attraction. JC Jane and Gigi Dolan, hard to say that as well. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble struggling with these words now. And if you watch my videos, you probably say, oh, you struggle with words every video, George. I know. But anyway, I love Toxic Attraction. I think they're a fantastic group and a fantastic faction, including Mandy Rhodes. They kind of have that feel, in my opinion, like the United Empire, or not United Empire, the Undisputed Era had in NXT just a few years ago. They kind of have that vibe where they rule NXT, these 3 women. And it's kind of awesome seeing them there. Mandy Rose is probably the most improved wrestler anywhere this year. She's gone from someone that, let's all be honest, no one thought was a good wrestler to being one of the better wrestlers in NXT. A show that's known to produce great wrestlers. And her two stablemates here, JC Jane and Gigi Dolan, both are standing on their own. While it all feels like they're 3 separate characters, somehow it feels like all 3 of them fit together as well. And it makes a lot of sense that they'd be a team. It's so great seeing something like that, much like I said with the Undisputed Era. Fish and O'Reilly and Cole and Roderick Strong all had their strengths and weaknesses, and all were different, but all were the same when you put them together. Kind of like, and I'm dating myself here for all you kids of the 80s, or if you're a 90s fan, we'll get to them too. Kind of like Voltron. They're strong apart, but the strength of their parts gets better when together. For you 90s kids, think Power Rangers. But anyway, I digress. I really love Toxic Attraction. I think they're a fantastic tag team. And anytime I could get them onto a list to talk about how great I think they are is a good reason, enough reason for me to put them on there. That being said, and that with their accolades, makes them an easy pick. Now, coming from them are number 5, the Briscoe Brothers. Look, I hear you, Briscoe fans. I'm one of you. I'm a huge Briscoes fan. Any other year, they'd be in the top 2 or 3, maybe even number 1. The problem is, where have they been? They were all over the place in the beginning of the year, and I know there's rumors that they're not allowed to be on TNT or TBS. But where have they been? They've stopped appearing in Game Changer Wrestling. We've seen them have some of the best matches of the year. Can't deny that. But it feels like they've just totally disappeared off the map. Like they maybe quietly gave up wrestling. And I know I see their names pop up here and there, but I don't feel like I've seen them do anything high profile, at least since the last match they had with FTR. For that reason, they're kind of low on the list, and I know it's hard to say that. The Briscoe Brothers being at number 5, that's unfathomable. Over the last 20 years, they've never been this low on the list. It's a combination of things, I think. Their lack of activity, plus the other tag teams that are ahead of them and how great they're doing, just makes them kind of fall here. And before you flame me, Briscoe fans, remember, I love the Briscoe Brothers. I think they're fantastic. Now, going from the Briscoes to another team of brothers that are probably lower than most other years are number 4, the Young Bucks. Again, much like the Briscoe Brothers. Before you say it, before you blow the comments up with All Out, what have they done in the wrestling ring? Not backstage, in the wrestling ring. I know they were the first trios champion. I know they had tag championships earlier in the year, but it kind of feels like they've taken a step back even in AEW, where they're the 3rd or 4th most popular team in the company. They've at times been behind the Acclaim, behind FTR, behind Swerve in Our Glory. It kind of feels like the Young Bucks, whether it be for reasons outside of wrestling where they haven't been on TV, or because they just kind of felt like they needed to take it back so other people could get built up. It kind of feels like this is a year where the Young Bucks took a step back from their normal great output. And it's not to say that they haven't been great, that their matches haven't been great, they haven't been fun to watch. It just feels like they've been overshadowed. That, coupled with the long periods of inactivity, makes them a number 4. And I know, it's crazy. You think about them at number 4 as compared to, let's say, someone like Kabuto Khan at number 9, and saying that the Young Bucks aren't rated greatly, where a team like Kabuto Khan, it would feel awesome for them to be at number 4, where it feels like a letdown for the Briscoes being at 5 and the Bucks being at 4, because you expect them to be 1 and 2. Just my opinion. Now, going from the Young Bucks, staying in the world of AEW, the Acclaimed. Max Caster and Anthony Bowens have made 2022 their year. Between their in-ring work, which is fantastic, to their gimmick, which is fantastic, to their catchphrase, "Scissor me daddy ass," fantastic. They are the most over wrestling entity in any company anywhere in the world. And I defy you to find me someone that's more over than they are. Absolutely a fantastic year. This was the coming out party, the crowning achievement for them, and no, that has nothing to do with Anthony Bowens. I just realized that after I said that. But it feels like them really staking their claim to be one of the great tag teams in the world, where it all came together with them winning the AEW Tag Championship. Gotta love the Acclaimed. They feel like the best homegrown talent AEW has had. And I know they both did stuff before AEW, but on a national stage, they feel like the team or the act that has got over the most. Them, Britt Baker, to an extent, Darby Allin. I still feel the Acclaimed is above those. Maxwell Jacob Friedman. They got some great people that they brought along with the name talent that have signed and have been signed to AEW. To me, the Acclaimed is right there at the top of that list. Now, going from the Acclaimed to our number 2, we have a lot of teams that are brothers on this list. The Usos, Jimmy and Jay. At the time of this recording, they just set the record for being the longest reigning WWE champions, passing the New Day, passing Demolition, which is not something to take lightly. These guys have been in the top storyline in the WWE through a regime change, through the entire year, for more than a year now. And they put on great matches with everybody they step in the ring with. And again, it kind of feels like they're underappreciated. It doesn't feel like a lot of people talk about the Usos being one of the great tag teams of all time. They've said that. They're there. You gotta talk about the Usos in the same breath that you talk about the Dudleys and the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express and the Freebirds. They've put themselves into that stratosphere. Whether it be just this year, the evolution of them, go back and watch them evolve as a tag team. They keep changing their style. They keep changing their gimmick. They keep changing who they are without escaping who they are. They still stay true to the Usos while they evolve, much like a Chris Jericho would. And they're always towards the top of the line in WWE, and it's for a great reason. They're generational talents, and I know that gets said a lot in wrestling, but they really are. I think they're fantastic. They definitely deserve to be on here, and they definitely deserve to be up near the top. Now, before we do get into our number 1, I do a little thing here on my top 10s called the best of the rest. Basically, things that were thought of for the list but didn't quite make it. First up, the Creed Brothers. I talked about them on my last video about breakout stars of 2022 and how they've really impressed me in NXT and how I think they've got a huge future ahead of them. They're the most improved. If Mandy Rose is the most improved singles wrestler in all of wrestling, the Creed Brothers are the most improved tag team in all of wrestling, in my opinion. I really could see them easily becoming one of the great tag teams of this generation, and they've definitely got their foothold in the door already. I think they're absolutely awesome. Now, last but not least, on the best of the rest, the Lucha Brothers. Again, much like I said with the Young Bucks, it feels a little bit, even though they've been the Trios champion now for a little while, it feels like they've kind of taken a step back in the tag division to let the Acclaim come up, to let Swerve and Our Glory come up, to let some other teams be highlighted more, and it feels like they've taken a back seat again. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. They're grouping with Pac being the Trios champions. I think that's a great fit for them. I love them as a 6-man team. I love these guys as solo wrestlers. I think both of them should be in conversation to be AEW champions. And if you heard that sound, I just accidentally stepped on a packing peanut that I guess, if you've seen in one of my unboxing videos a couple weeks ago, I guess I didn't get all of them up. I just realized that. Sorry, I digress. Lucha Brothers, absolutely fantastic team, and a great team to put to this list. Unfortunately, this year they didn't quite have the accolades they normally do, so they didn't make the list. Now, before we get into number one, if you think I put a team up too high, team down too low, left a team off my list altogether, let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments. With all that being said, our number one tag team of 2022, FTR. I mean, come on. Who else was it going to be? As of the time of this recording, they're the current Ring of Honor champions, IWGP Tag Team Champions, and AAA Tag Team Champions. And they put on some of the best matches of the year, tag team or otherwise. Even with AEW's start-stop booking of them, they found a way to be more relevant than any other tag team on this list. They found a way to be the best tag team there is out there and have great matches with anybody. I absolutely love FTR. I think they're fantastic. Again, I've complained about this over and over again. It really feels like, and I don't want to get too much into conspiracy or backstage politicking. That's not what my channel's about. I like to think more positively most of the time. It definitely feels like there's someone in power that either doesn't believe in FTR as much as the rest of us do or doesn't see it. And that's okay, because sometimes I can look at a wrestler and not see the appeal where 10 other people can look at the same wrestler and be like, dude, what are you talking about? This is one of the greatest wrestlers there is. And I can't. And I might not be able to see it. There have been plenty of examples of that. Everybody has their own personal tastes. It definitely feels like someone that makes decisions doesn't think as highly of FTR, even though they're draped in gold. It doesn't feel like they're quite given the respect they deserve. They should be the highlight of every show. They should be on every episode of Dynamite, or at least a video of them on every episode of Dynamite. I digress. I'm getting on my soapbox a little bit too hard here. Again, I'm complaining about how a team's being booked that I'm putting at the number one spot on the list. So that goes to tell you just how great they are. With all this being said, again, if you think I put someone too high, someone too low, let me know in the comments. Smash the like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. And if we made it all the way to the end, we've talked a lot about teams with brothers on this. What's your favorite brothers outside of wrestling? Could it be the Wayans brothers? The Warner brothers? I don't know. It's the first thing that came to my mind was the Warner brothers. Let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments. What's your favorite brother combination outside of wrestling? Let me know. Let me know you made it to the end. Put it down here in the comments. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been another Heel Heat Top 10.